Alright, so we're back with part 2 of the video where we're going through stage 2 city and guilds, sample paper, set 7. So I did part 1 last night and we're just gonna see if we can complete it before. So this is part 2 of the video. So we're on question 20 and we're just gonna quickly move right along. Yeah. So question 20. What is 82.5 divided by 11? So we're going to divide that by 11 right here. So 11 divided by 82.5. What are the steps when dividing? Now when dividing, remember the first step is always to divide. So 11, how many times 11 can go into 82? That's 7 times. After you divide, you multiply. You multiply what you have at the top with what you divided by. So 7 times 11, 7 times 11, that's 77. After you multiply, you subtract. So you subtract what you have right there. So sub 7 from 12, that would be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 5. And you'd have 7 minus 7 right here. So that would just be 0. After you subtract, you must bring down. So every time you subtract, you'll bring down. What you're gonna bring down? You're gonna bring down this 5. But if you look right here, there's a decimal point. So because there's a decimal point, after you bring down the 5 right here, you're not gonna just have 55. You're gonna put the point first. So put the point first, because you just, anytime you bring down or anytime you bring down a number after decimal point, when you bring it down, you put the decimal point at the top where the answer will be. So you have 55. So after we bring down, we always repeat the steps. So if we're repeating the step, the first step is to divide. So the first step is to divide. So 11 divided by 55, that goes 5 times. After you divide, you multiply. So 5 times 11, that's 55. After you multiply 5 times 11, you subtract a minus, and you'll have 0 remaining. Alright, so there's nothing to bring down or anything else. So we have our answer, and our answer is 7.5. So the answer for 20 is C. Moving right along. 21. So 24 bread rolls cost $4 and $4.08. So $4.08. What is the cost per roll? So therefore, if 24 bread costs $4.08, if we want to find the cost for one, we'll have to divide. So that's divide. We're dividing right here, because if you have 24 bread, and if when you buy the 24 bread, it costs $4.08. That means that if you want to know how much it costs, for one, or what's the cost per roll, or for one of the bread rolls, and then just gonna have to divide. We're gonna divide the 24 by the 4.08. And the thing with the city and guilds questions are, if you don't know to divide, you're gonna be in serious problems. Alright, so first thing first, let's divide. The first step in when dividing, is to divide. So 4 into 4, we can't, so you put a 0 there. After you divide, you multiply. 0 times 24 is 0. After, you subtract. So 0 minus 4 is 4. Oh, so remember, after you multiply, you subtract. After you subtract right here, you always bring down. So bring down. So what you're gonna bring down? You're gonna bring down 0 right beside the 4, making it 40. But remember, the decimal point is right here. So anytime you bring down a number after the decimal point, put the decimal point above where you have your answer. So anytime you bring down a number after the decimal point, ensure you put a point, or else it's gonna change the answer. So now, how many times 24 can go into 40? So that will just be 2 times. Oh, remember, after you bring down, you repeat. So you repeat the process. So repeat. And repeating means that you come back to divide. So that's the reason why. So after I bring down the 0 right here, how many times 24 can go into 40? That is just 1 time. So we'll repeat. So after you divide and multiply, so 1 times 24 is 24. After you multiply, subtract. So let's subtract this right here. So 4 from 10, that would be 6. You'll have 3 remaining. 2 from 3, that would leave you 1. And after we subtract, we bring down. So we bring down right here, and we'll have, that's 8. So we have 168. How many times 24 can go into 68? So that's 68 divided by 24, that's equal to 7. Alright, so how many times? So after you divide, remember, multiply. So 7 times 24. 7 times 24 is 168. After we multiply, we subtract, and now we're left with 0. So that's it. Our answer is 0.17. Let's see if we see it right over there. So the answer for our 21 is B, 0.17. Okay, moving right along. So that's 22 now we're at. Let's quickly clear this off. Okay. Alright, so let's work question 22. Alright. So we have 31.9 times 100. Let's work this out first, because you know that based on the order of operations, we'll work whatever is on the right hand side first when we're dealing with signs that are on the same level, and multiplication and division is on the same level of the order of operations. So because the multiplication sign comes first over the right hand side, then we're gonna have to multiply first. Now the cool thing, or the fun thing, when multiplying by base 10 numbers. Base 10 numbers are numbers that have 1 and zeros, so a number of zeros. So when multiplying 31 times 9, 31.9 multiplied by 100. So when multiplying by this base 10 number, so this is a base 10 number. Let me just quickly underline it. This is a base 10 number. So when you are multiplying with a base 10 number, then all we have to do is move the decimal point. So let's write the number right here. So 31.9, and we're just gonna move decimal point by the number of zeros. So when you're moving decimal points, when moving the decimal point, you're gonna move it based on number of zeros. So how many zeros are in 100? That's 1, 2. So there are 2 zeros in 100. Because there are 2 zeros in 100, we're gonna move decimal point 2 times. So 2 skips to the right hand side. Why? Because if we're multiplying, the number has to be bigger. So we move it to the right hand side to make the number bigger. So that's 1 skip, 2 skip. So wherever we have wherever we have a little space or a gap right there, we'll just put 0, and that will be equal to 3190. So that's 3190. And now after we have done that, what we're gonna do, we're just gonna divide, because after that we have to divide by 10. So if you look right here, we have to divide by 10 afterwards. So that's 3190. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do the opposite of when we're multiplying with a base 10 number. So if when we're multiplying, we have to move over the right hand side based on the number of zeros, then if we're dividing now by 10, we're gonna do the opposite of that. We're gonna move in the opposite direction based on the number of zeros. So there is just 1 0 right here, 1 0 right here. So therefore we just, if the decimal point is right here, then we just move decimal point 1 place back inside, because we're doing the opposite. So that will be equal to 319. So that's 309. If you want to, we can say 0.0, but 0.0 now is just simply 319. So our answer is 319. So that's C. C is the answer for question 22. Alright, moving right along. So a bag of rice costs $2.78. A customer buys 3 bags of rice. He pays with a $20 bill. How much change should he receive? So he bought a bag of rice for $2.78. A customer, a bag of rice. So the bag of rice costs $2.78, but the customer came in to buy three bags of rice. He pays with $20 with a $20 bill. How much change should he receive? Alright, so first thing first, you need to know how many 3 bags of rice are equal to. So in order to know what the 3 bags of rice are equal to, we're just gonna multiply the unit cost. So the cost of 1 times the 3. So that's, let me put it right here. So the cost of 1 times 3. So 1 bag of rice costs $2.78. Remember, whenever we are multiplying a decimal number by a whole number, the answer will have the same amount of decimal places. So right here we have 2 decimal places. So let me put it right up here. So 2 decimal places. So our answer will have 2 decimal places. So let's multiply now. So 3 times 8, that should be 24, plus 2, right? 3 times 7, that should be 21. 21 plus 2, that is 23. And 3 times 2, hold on. So remember, I should put the plus 2 right here. So I put the plus 2 right here because I multiplied 3 times 7, which is 21, plus 2 is 23. So I put a plus 2 right here. Alright, now we multiply 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2, that is 8. And as I said before, uh, the number should have the same amount of decimal places. So since we should have the same decimal place as the one before, as the number that we're multiplying, decimal number we're multiplying. So if it is 2 decimal places, then our answer will have 2 decimal places. So that's 1, 2. So it's gonna be $8, and 34 cents. So $8.34. All right, so after we have that, now we'll just simply write it out. So because we need to find the change now. So if 3 bags of rice cost $8.34, what happens if we pay $20? So $20, now we're gonna subtract the 8.34 from the $20. So let's separate it right here, and we're gonna write it in a different color. So that's $20. So 0 minus $8.34. No, because it is $8 point, because we have a point right there's a decimal number. For the $20, we can write this as a decimal number as well. So put a point, and because there's no number after decimal point, we can put a placeholder 0 right there. So we can subtract. So let's subtract right here and get ready. So I just set up the problem. So we multiply 3 times the 2.78, and we got 8.34, and then all we're gonna do now is subtract, because that's the amount for the 3 bags of rice. So he paid with $20 bill. So we're just gonna subtract the 8.34 from the $20, and we'll get our answer afterwards. When setting up our problem, we have to ensure that everything aligns. So everything aligns, so we can subtract a little easier. There's no point, there's no number after decimal point. We'll look at the $20, so just put a placeholder 0 so we can subtract for efficiency. Alright, that's the way that it should be done. Alright, so let's get started now with our subtraction, and we're gonna do it as quickly as possible. So take how many times 4 from 0, that will just be, we can, so we're gonna take away a 2 from here, carry a 1, take away from there, so carry a 1, bring the 1 all the way down here, so that will be 4 minus from 10. So 4 from 10 will just, you'll be left with 6. We have 9 right here. We'll have 9 because we take away 1 from the 10. We took 1 from 10, so that will be 9. 3 minus 6, sorry, 3 from the 9, that would be 6 as well. And we have our point. So we'll have a 9 right here as well, because we took 1 from the 10. And 8 minus 9, that would just be, sorry, 9 minus 8, that would just be 1. So if you take 8 from 9, that would just, you'll just be left with 1. And we have a 1 right here. There's nothing below, so we'll just write the 1. So what we're left with, 11.66. Let's see if it's over there. Yes, it is. B. So the answer is B for number. So the answer is B for number 23. And we're moving right along. What is 1/3 of 1,800? Now, anytime when you see off right there, we know that we have to multiply. So whenever we see off, just the word off means that you're gonna multiply. What are we going to multiply? We're gonna multiply. We're gonna multiply whatever two numbers that we see right here. So we have a fraction. We're gonna multiply that by the number. So multiply. All right. So a fraction times 118. So that's 1/3 times 1,800. So 1,800 over, because this is a whole number, we can just put it over 1. So remember, any whole number, like for example, if you have 100 as a fraction, 100 as a fraction is just 100 over 1. So just put it over 1. All right. And if you have 4 and you say, hey, oh, can you write 4 as a fraction? 4 as a fraction is just 4 over 1. So 4 over 1 is a fraction. And I'm just showing you why I put the, over 1 right here. Any number can be written as a fraction, just put the number over 1. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, let's work. So when multiplying fractions, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, so you'll end up with 1,800 so 1,800 divided by 3. So 1,800 divided by 3, or 1,800 over 3. Now please remember, fractions are division. Whenever you see a fraction, we're looking at division. So let me highlight. Whenever you see a fraction, whenever you see a fraction, it just means that we're going to divide. It means to divide. So some persons might not remember that, but that's what it means. Whenever you have a fraction, you're going to be dividing. Divide. So fractions means that you're going to divide. What you're going to divide now? So we have 3 divided by 1,800. So how many times 3 can go into 18? So 3 into 18 goes 6 times. And we'll just put back our 2 zeros afterwards. So it should be equal to 600. So how many times 3 can go into 18? 6. And you just put back 2 zeros. So answer for 24 is A, 600. So A is the answer right there. So you multiply. Anytime you see off in maths, that means to multiply. So you multiply 1/3, multiply by the 1,800, numerator times numerator. So 1 times 1,800, 1,800. 1 times 3 times 1 will just give you 3. So in short, you just end up dividing the 1800 by 3, the denominator, and you get 600 as the answer. Alright, moving right along. So which of these fractions have the same value? So I've told my students before, whenever we have questions like this, it just means that we have to simplify. So simplify, we can simplify our answer. So let's look at this first one right here, which should be A. Let's look at 6. Now, what two numbers can divide 6 and 8 without leaving a remainder? What's the factor? What's a factor, or the highest factor for dividing right here? So 6 and 8, that would be 2. So 2 divided by 6 would be 3. 2 divided by 8 would be 4. So we're just simplifying out the fractions to see which one would be identical after simplifying. And if you look above right here, immediately above there is a 3/4 in the table right here. So we have 1/3, 6/8, 3/4, and 3/6. So if you look right here, we can see after we simplified this fraction right here, so we simplified this fraction 6/8, and the highest number, or the number that can divide 6 and 8 without leaving a remainder, is 2. So we divided by 2. Both number at the top and bottom, and after we did that, we got the same fraction as the one beside it. So 2 into 6 goes 3 times, 2 into 8 goes 4 times. So the one that is identical is the one that has both of these. So D is the answer for number 25. Alright, moving right along. Alright, so an officer or an office worker weighs some items for posting. So an officer weighs some items for posting. They weigh 1.5 kilograms, 3/4 kilograms, 1/2 kilograms. So what is the total weight of these items? So let's do this. First thing I'm gonna do is just convert this mixed fraction into improper fraction. I just prefer to do it that way. So whenever we convert the mixed to improper, you multiply and then add. So 1 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. So we're gonna have 3/2. So let's write these out. So 3/2. So it's gonna be our first fraction, plus 3/4 plus, we have a half, so that's 1/2. Alright, let me change the color so you see what I'm doing next. Alright, so for these we need to have the lowest common denominator. So the lowest common denominator, what's the highest common multiple for 2, 4, and 2? Meaning that when you look at the times table, the answers that you have for the times table, when you look at the times table, the answers are called multiples. So out of the 2 times table and the 4 times table, when we multiply, what is the first answer that we have that will be common between 2 and the 4 times table? That would just be what? 4. So our lowest common multiple, or our common denominator, would just be 4, because that's the lowest common multiple. If you want, you can do more research on the LCM. LCM is the lowest common multiple, or you can find that. Or if you want, you can look up how to find the lowest common denominator, or maybe I'll just add a video right there. But basically, it's the answer for the times where you have for each times table. So for the 2 times table, what can you multiply 2 by now to get 4? So that would be 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So, and even for the 4 right here, what can you multiply 4 by to get 4? So that's just 1. So for the answers, as I said before, the lowest common multiple is the answers, the first common number that you'll have when you are looking at the times table for the two numbers. So 2 and 4, what's the first answer that you'll have in common? 4. Because 2 times 1 is 2, not common with 2 with 4 times 1. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 1 is 4. So the first number, the lowest common multiple is 4. Let's multiply now. So whenever we're converting these fractions into equivalent fractions, or fractions with the same denominator, I should say, we're going to multiply whatever number we multiply the bottom by, we have to multiply the top by the same number. So if we multiply the bottom by 2, we're going to multiply the top by 2 as well. So 2 times 3, that is going to be 6. Alright, 4 times 1, we multiply 4 times 1 because we need to get our denominator to be the same, which is 4. That's the lowest common multiple. So that is the reason why I multiply by 1, while over this fraction right here, I multiply by 2. Okay, so anything you do at the bottom, you have to multiply the same number at the top. So 1 times 3 is plus 3. Plus, looking over here, right here, we have a half. So 2 times, what you multiply 2 by now to get 4, that's 2 again. Anything you multiply the bottom by, you have to multiply the top by the same thing. So that's multiplied by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 times 2 is 2. So now that we have the same denominator, which is 4, we'll just add everything that we have at the top. So 6 plus 3, that is 9. 9 plus 2, that is 11. So 11 over 4, and we're just gonna convert this into a mixed fraction. So we have our final answer. So let's convert this quickly into a mixed fraction. Let me border this off right here using the highlighter. So we're going to convert this into a mixed fraction right now. So that will be 4 divided by 11. So how many times we can get, how many 4s we can get into, how many times we can divide 4 into 11? That is 2 times, so 2. Alright, 2 times 4 is 8. After that, you subtract. So 8 from 11, that will just be 9, 10, 11. So you'll be left with 3. Remember, we put back the same denominator. So we always ensure that we put back the same denominator. So the denominator was 4. And we have the numerator to be 2. Sorry, the whole number would be 2. And 3 above would be our numerator. So 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 3, that's what? 11. So that's our answer right here. We always ensure that we put back our denominator. So it's 4. This will be our numerator, and this will be our whole number. So let's see if we have the answer over there. So that's 2 and 3 over 4. So these are answer for 26. Going down right here, we have number 27, and we're subtracting this time. So we have 7 over 7 over 8 minus 1 over 4. What's the lowest common multiple right here? Well, 8 times 1 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8. So our lowest common multiple, our lowest common, our denominator, our common denominator is gonna be 8. So what do you multiply? So let's change the color. So 8 times 1 is 8. Anything you multiply at the bottom, you're gonna multiply it at the top as well. So 7 times 1 is 7. So 7 minus so what we multiply 4 by now to get 8. So 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8, and you multiply at the top again by the same number. So if you multiply by 2 at the bottom, you're going to multiply by 2 at the top. So 2 times 1, 2 times 1 is 2. That's equal to 2 minus 7. So 2 minus 7, that's 5. So you'll be left with 5 over 8. Look over here. So the answer is A, 5 over 8. And we're going down. Okay, what is the value of 7 over 10 minus 3 over 10 plus 1 over 5? Now, some persons might think that, okay, based on the order of operations, addition comes before subtraction because of PEMDAS or BEMDAS, but addition and subtraction is on the same level. So because they're on the same level, addition and subtraction is on the same level. So because of that, what comes first is what we'll do first. So we'll do this one first. But the good thing about it, we have the same denominator for the first two fractions right here, which is just 10. So all we'll have to do is take away the numerator above. So we'll just take away right here the 7 minus 3. So 7 minus 3. So 3 from 7, that will just be 4 over 10. 4 over 10. And now that we got that out of the way, we can add the 1 over 5. So we'll add these two fractions now. What's the lowest common multiple right here between 10 and 5? Well, 1 times 10 is 10. 2 times 5 is 10. So our common denominator will just be 10. Alright, let's change the color again. So what can you multiply the 10 by in order to get 10? 10 times 1 is 10. So you multiply the top by 1 as well. 1 times 4 is 4. So 4 plus 5 times 2. But you have to multiply 5 by in order to get 10. That's 2. And anything you multiply the bottom, you have to multiply the top. 2 times 1 is 2. So that will be equal to 4 plus 2 is 6. So 6 over 10. So we have 6 over 10. But this can be simplified because 6 over 10, both the 6 and the 10 can be simplified. So what's the number? What number can divide both 6 and 10 without leaving a remainder? That is 2. So if you divide by 2, for both the top and the bottom, we should have our fraction, which should be 6 divided by 2 is 3 over 6 divided by 10. Sorry, 2 divided by 10. So 2 divided by 10 would just be 5. Is there any, can we simplify any further? No, there's no number that can divide 3 and 5 without leaving a remainder. So let's look. Our answer is C, 3 over 5. Alright, moving right along from that. So we're at question 29. So a student receives 6 marks out of 10 in a test. What is the expression as a what is this expressed as a percentage? So you have 6 out of 100. Sorry, 6 out of 10. And if we want to find what is that as a percentage, we can just multiply that by 100. So anytime you want to know what's the percentage of a fraction, remember percentage means out of 100. That's what it means. That's why the sign looks like that. It looks like a 1 and 2 zeros. So percentage is out of 100. So if I want to know what is the percentage of a fraction, multiply the fraction by 100. And remember, if we're multiplying a fraction by a whole number, change the whole number into a fraction by putting over 1. It means the same thing. So 100 as a fraction is just 100 over 1. It means the same thing. Alright, now I'm going to change the color so we can multiply. So that would be 6 times 100 and 1 times 10. So 6 times 100 would just be 600 over 10 times 1 is just 10. Remember, any number we have over 100 is just any number we have over 1 is just the number itself. For example, if we have 4, what is 4 as a fraction? That would just be 4 over 1. So now, because of that, anytime when you're dividing or whenever you're dividing by a base 10 number, you can just cancel 1 0 from the bottom. You can just cancel 1 0 from the bottom and 1 0 from the top. And we'll just be left with 60 over 1. So 60 over 1. 60 over 1 is the same as just 60%. So we're left with 60% because we have 60 over 1 as the answer. So 60%. So 60%. Alright, moving on. So always remember, whenever you're multiplying a fraction, whenever you want to find the percentage of a fraction, multiply by 100 and you will get your answer. Alright, moving right along. So we're at question 30. There are 50 pens in a box. 20 have black ink. What percentage of the pens have black ink? So the total pens in the box is what? 50. So that's going to be our denominator. The total is always the denominator. So you're going to have a fraction with the total. Whenever you have the total, it's going to be our denominator. So the total, and what we have to find. So what we have to find, or what we're looking at. So put what you have right here, or what we're looking for. So the total is 50, and what we're looking at. So looking at, that is gonna be our denominator. What we're looking at. Sorry, that's gonna be our numerator. So it's just a formula or a way of thinking. Whenever you see questions looking like this and you say, alright, how am I going to set up the fraction in order to solve it? Just remember, whenever you have the total, put it as the denominator, and whatever you are asked to find or whatever you're looking at. So 20 are black, then you put that as the numerator. So let's go. So let's erase this and quickly just solve this. So 50 pence, that's a total, and you have 20 black pence. So out of the 50, we're looking at 20 pence. Now ask us what is the percentage. Percentage is out of 100, so we just multiply by 100. So we multiply by 100 means that we're gonna have 100 over 1. Because we're multiplying by the percentage, that's just multiply by 100. So 100 over 1 is the same thing as 100. Alright, so when multiplying, let me change the color. So that's 20 multiplied by 100 and 50 multiplied by 1. So 20 times 100, that will be 2000. So 2000 over 50 times 1 would just be 50. I'm going to change the color again so you can see what I'm doing. Purple. So cancel the zeros from the bottom and the top. So you'll be left with 200 over 5. And 200 over 5 is the same thing as 200 divided by 5. Remember, fractions are division. So 200 over 5 is the same thing as 200 divided by 5. So how many times 5 can go into 20? 5 into 20 goes 4 times. 5 into 20 goes 4 times. And you will be left with a 0. So 5 divided by 24. And there's a 0 right here. So you just write 4, 0%. So that's 40%. Let's see if we have the answer right there. So that's A, 40%. A company charges a customer $120 for a repair. The company offers a 5% discount for prompt payment. So that means that the company charges a customer 120, but because the customer paid early, then it gave him a discount of 5%. So first thing I need to how much discount will it be? How many discount? So it's not asking us to find what is the final price, but it's just asking us to find what is 5% off 120. And if you realize the word off keep coming up, so remember, whenever you see off, it means that we're going to have to multiply. So let me just highlight the word off. So whenever you see off, it means that we're going to have to multiply. What are we going to multiply? So we're going to multiply the 5% by the 120. So we have 120 multiplied by 5%, and 5% is just 5 over 100. 5 over 100 is 5%. And we have 120, so that would be 120 over 1. So 120 over 1 is the same thing as just 120. It's just that we write it in a way where it is a fraction. So write it as a fraction. So 120 over 1 is the same thing as 120. And 5% is 5 over 100. So let's multiply this one right now. So when multiplying fractions, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So that will be equal to 5 times 120. So you just multiply 5 times 120 and 1 times 100. So let me change the color. So quickly. No. So let's change the color quickly. Alright. So 5 times 120, so 5 times 12 is 6, so if it's 120 that would be 600, so 600, and 1 times 100 would just be 100, so 5 times 12, 60, 5 times, and you add the 0, 600, 1 times 100 is 100, so afterwards we'll just eliminate the zeros or cancel the zeros from both the bottom and the top. So 1 0 cancel from the bottom, 1 0 cancel from the top, 1 0 cancel from the bottom and the top. So we're left with 6 over 1, and 6 over 1 is just 6%. Sorry, 6 over 1 is just 6. We're not looking at the percentage, just $6 because we're looking at discount. So what is 5% of 120? Well, 5% of 120 is $6 or 6. So the answer is B. Remember, it didn't ask us what the customer will pay after I receive the discount. It just asks what the discount would be. So what is 5% of 120? That's the reason why 6 is the answer right there. Alright, moving right along. So what is 20% of 600? And if you realize, as I said before, look at the word right there, off. That means that we're gonna have to multiply. So let's change the color. So that would be 600 times 20%. So 20% is 20 over 100. And 600 as a fraction is just 600 over 1. Now I'm going to change the color again. When multiplying, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So that will be equal to 2 times 6 is 12. And because the 0 is right there, we'll just add another 0 right there, so we end up with 3 zeros. So 0 0 0 over 1 times 100 is just 100. Now we eliminate the zeros from both the bottom and the top. Let me change the color again. So take 1 0 from the bottom, 1 0 from the top, 1 0 from the bottom, 1 0 from the top. What are you left with? You're left with 120. So D is the answer for 32. Moving right along. So which of the following have the highest value? So we have these ones right here, 65%, 3 over 4, 0.70, and 3 out of 5. So we're going to cancel this one right here because 65 would just be 0.65. That's what it looks like as a decimal number, 0.65, because that's 65%, so that will be 0.65. So 0.70 is already greater than that amount. We're gonna cancel this as well because 3 out of 5, we have a 3 out of 4 right here, which is basically taking up more out of the whole than 3 out of 5. So so the two contenders are 3 over 4 and 0.70. So let's see what that is. So all we have to do is divide 4 by 3. So 3 into 4, 4 divided by 3, that's 0. Then you multiply it, so 0 times 4 is 0. Afterwards you subtract, you'll be left with 3. After you subtract, you always bring down. What is there to bring down? We don't say anything, so put a point. And remember, anytime you put a point at the right there, put a point at the top where the answer is. So that will be 0. And you bring down that 0. So we have 30. Alright, so afterwards now, how many times 4 can divide into 30? That will be 7 times, because 7 times 4 is 28. After you multiply 7 times 4, we subtract, and we'll be left with 2. After you subtract, you bring down. You don't have to put another point because the point is there already. So that's gonna be 0. So that's 20. After we bring down, we always repeat. So we're gonna divide 4 into 20, goes 5 times. So 5 times 4, that should be 20 as well. Subtract, and we have 0. So our answer is 0.75. Well, 0.75 is greater than, it's greater than 170. So as I said before, the highest number out of the two that's contending is 3 out of 4. So let me just quickly circle that answer. So 3 out of 4 is the answer for 33. Alright, what is 3 over 5 as a decimal fraction? When it asks you to find as a decimal fraction, it just asks you to divide the number that you have as denominator. You're gonna divide it by what you have on the top. I'm gonna change the color. So 3 over 5 is 3 divided by 5. So you're dividing by 5. Notice I always put the denominator is dividing the numerator. Let me let this a bit neater. So 5 divided by 3. So now 5 into 3, you can't, that's 0. 0 times 5 is 0. After you multiply, you subtract. After you multiply, you subtract. 0 from 3, 3. What is left for you to do now? After you subtract, you bring down. What is there to bring down? You don't see anything, so put a point and put a point above. So you'll have a 0 now, and you bring down that 0 to make the number 30. 5 into 30, that is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. Then you subtract, and you'll be left with 0. So our answer is 0.6. Let's see if we see it. So what is 3 over 5 as a decimal fraction? That is 0.6. Alright, what is 70 as a decimal fraction? 70 as a decimal fraction, move the decimal place. So that's 1, 2. So that will be, decimal point is right here, that will be 0.17. Remember, we're dividing by 0, so we move decimal point based on the number of zeros. So 1, 2 zeros is in 100 we divided by. So you move decimal point 1, 2, because we divided by a base 10 number. So 0.7 would be the answer for right here. Alright, moving right along. A car has traveled 16,813 kilometers. Round this to the nearest thousand. So the thousand place is 6. So 6 is in the thousand place. So anything beside that, so what's beside the 6? 8 is beside 6. Oh. So 8 is beside 6. So we highlight 8 because that's the number now that we'll have to decide. If it is 5 or greater, we add 1 to the number in the place that we're looking at. So the nearest thousand, look at the thousand right here. 6 is in thousand place. 5 is beside it. If it is 5 or greater, we add 1. So we're gonna add 1 right there. This on the 6. So we add 1. And everything else will be 0. So that is gonna be 17,000 because we'll add 1 to the 6 and everything else will become 0. So rounding that to the 1000 place, nearest 1000 would be, this will be the answer. Alright, moving right along. A saver has 3,192 and 25 cents in the bank. Round this to the nearest dollar. Alright, so the nearest dollar would be the number in the ones position. So let me use the highlighter for this. What number is in the ones position? So 2 is in the ones position. 2. What number is beside the 2? What number is beside the 2? That's 2 as well. So 5 or greater, you add 1. But if it is less than 5, the number beside is less than 5, then the number remains and everything becomes 0. So therefore, we just have C for the answer, because we'll write everything as is, but everything else after the nearest $1 will become 0. So you don't have to write it. So this will be the answer because it's the nearest $1 we're rounding by. So practice rounding numbers. Alright. 22.916 written to 2 decimal places is, so the 2 decimal place would be 1 right here, and the same thing applies when rounding. Look at the number beside, highlight it. So that's 6. If it is 5 or greater, we add 1. So it's 6. That's greater than 5. So we will add 1. We'll add 1 to the 1. We'll add 1 to the 1, making it 2. So that's 192. 192. So C is the answer. C is the answer for 38. Moving right along, we have 57.137 written to the first decimal place. So the first decimal place, let me underline it. It is 1. Number beside that, so let me highlight it. That's 3. So the number beside that is 3. Oh, number beside that is 3. Okay, good. So if it is 5 or greater, we'll add to the one that is in the first decimal place. But because it is less than 5, we'll let number remain as is, and everything will basically be 0, or cancel it out. So that will be left with, because it is less than 5, it will just basically cancel out. So if it cancel out, we'll just be left with 57.1, because we round it, and 3 is less than 5, so we have 57.1. Everything else will be removed after the 1. Alright, moving right along to 40. So 40. A map has a scale of 10 centimeter that represents 20 centimeters. What is the distance between two places? So, sorry, the distance between two places is 4 centimeters. So what is the actual distance of the two places? So we have 10 over 20. This represents centimeters, and below represents kilometers. Now if you're asked to find the amount of kilometers when you have 4 centimeters, then how do you move from 10 to 4? So first things first, you can look at this up, more than one way. There's more than one way you can look at this. So to get from 10 to 20, you're basically multiplying by 2. 10 to 20, that's the relationship right there. We're multiplying by 2. So when you have 4 centimeters right there, we can multiply by 2 as well to get the answer for below. So 4 times 2 is 8. So you'd have 8 kilometers right there. 8 kilometers. And that will be your answer. Let's check and see if we have it right there. So the answer is 8 kilometers.
Represents a unit, because no unit is there 1 to 50, so it'll just be a unit. So we can say that is that's just 1 centimeter. So be careful whenever you're looking at questions like this. Ensure that if you don't see a unit, you can understand that it's more than likely it's a centimeter, because that represents a unit. All right, and he's drawing on paper, not anything else. So because he's drawing on paper now, the actual wall is 10 meters long. All right. So even if you look at the question right here, it asks us, all right, what is the answer in centimeters? So that alone should tell us that, okay, the 1 to 50 right there, they're talking about centimeters. All right. So because of that right here, the 10 meters now, we have to convert that 10 meter into a centimeter, because this is not the drawing on the paper, which is 1 to 50, right? It is. So let's quickly work this out now. So convert the 10 meters into centimeters. So 10 meters into centimeters will be equal to what do you do to move from centi? So you have centimeters, then you have deci. After you have the deci, then you have meters. So moving from there, that's how many movements. Centi to deci, that's 10. Deci to meter, that's 100. So 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. So that means that if we have 10 meters, that would just be adding another zero to this, to the 100 centimeters. So that would be just be 1,000 centimeters. So the wall is 1,000 centimeters, right? That's 1 meter. And we'll divide by 50 because the unit is from 1 to 50. What is the length of the wall on the plan? So that means that if the actual length of the wall is 1,000 centimeters, what is that on the paper? Because it is 1 to 50, normally we would have to multiply 1 by 50 centimeters. So 1 centimeter on the paper would mean 50 centimeters on the actual wall. So because the actual wall is 1,000 centimeters, in order for to us to know how many centimeters that is on the paper, instead of multiplying now, we'll just divide, because we're not trying to find what is the length on the wall. We already know what is the length on the wall. We want to know what is the length on the pan, what is the length on the paper. So we divide it by 50. So 0 cancels 0. 5 into 100, that would be 20. So answer right there is 20 centimeters. That is the actual length on paper. And if we multiply the 20 times the 50, just like the scale right here, 1 to 50, so 120 centimeters times 50 centimeters will give you back the 1,000 centimeters. So that is the length on the
Hold
paper.
on. So a cook uses 2 eggs. So 2 eggs to make 24 small cakes. How many eggs would she use to make 48? Now 2 times 24 is equal to 48. 2 times 24 is equal to 48. So 2 times 2, since it's 2 eggs, since 2 eggs are used to make 24 cakes, that means 2 times 2 is equal to 4. This is just one way of looking at it. If you wanted to, you could also say what is the, how many cakes, how many eggs can be, how many cakes can be baked with 1 egg. So you can look at the unit, you know, um, you can look at for 1 egg. So you just divide. So 24 divided by the 2 eggs if you want to see how many cakes 1 egg can make. So 24 divided by 2 is equal to 12. So that means that 1 egg can make 12 cakes. So if 1 egg can make 12 cakes, that means you could also divide, the 20, the 48 by 12. So 48 divided by 12. You could do that as well. So since one egg can make 12 cakes, you can divide 12, which is will be 1 by the 24, sorry, by the 48, and 12 divided by 48 is also 4. So if you wanted to use both methods, then you can. But the fact is, if you have 2 eggs and it makes 24 cakes, if you have 48 cakes, 48 cakes is just doubling what you made before. So that you just double the amount of eggs. Simple. Alright, going down. So a shop owner records the number of customer each day for 5 days. What is the average? What is the mean average number of customers? So whenever you look at mean or average, means around the same thing. So all we'll do, we'll add everything that you see right here. So mean average means that we'll add everything we see right there, and we divide it by the amount that we are numbers that are present. So 69 plus 73 plus 72 plus 73 plus 68. We'll add everything and we divide by 1, 2, 3. Let me change the color. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. So that's 5 numbers. So after we add everything together, we'll just divide by 5. So first things first, let's quickly just add everything right there. So we have 69 plus 73 plus 72 plus 73 again plus 68. That's equal to 355, and we'll just divide by 5. So 355 divided by 5. So divided by 5. 365 divided by 5 would be equal to 71. So our average is B, 71. Remember, whenever we see mean average, it means that we just add the numbers that we have right there and we divide by the amount of numbers that's there. So that's how you find the mean. Alright, moving right along to 44. So a group of students take a test. Their score are 5, 8, 5, 5, 7, 7, 5, 4, 9, 5. What is the mean? Alright, so finding the mean again. So add everything and divide by how many numbers that we're gonna divide by. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 10 numbers. So we're going to divide by 10. So quickly, all we have to do, add everything together. So that's 5 plus 8 plus 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 5 plus 9, that's 5 plus 4, that's 9, plus 9 plus 5, that's 14. So 9 plus 5 is 14. So in total, that's equal to 60. And we'll divide it by the amount that's there. So divided by 10. So because we divide by 10, the mean would be 6. Because 60 divided by 10 is just 6. Alright, moving right along. So the table shows the hours a student slept last week. Alright, so what is the range? So the range should be the smallest number. Yes, you're gonna take the smallest number and you're gonna subtract it from the largest number. So the largest number is 10. Smallest number is 6. 10 minus 6 is equal to 4. So the range is 4. Alright, moving along. So the selling price of an item S is C plus P. Where C is the cost of production and P is the profit. What is the selling price when the profit is $1.50? What and the cost of production is $1.76. Alright, so let's look at this again. So the selling price of an item is C plus P. C is the cost of production and P is the profit. So what is the selling price when profit is $1.50 and the cost of production is $1.76? So all we'll be doing right there is just adding. So just add the cost of production and the profit. So the cost of production is $1.76 and the cost and the profit is $1.50. So we'll add everything together. So 1 point, let me change the color. So 1.76 plus 1.50. So it's adding them together. So 6 plus 0 is 6. 5 plus 7, that's 12. And if you add the ones together, so 1 plus 1 is 2 plus 1, that's 3. So that's $3.26. So let's look for it. $3.26. So that's that. Moving right along. So we have our linear equation right here. And what is the value of A? Now, it's right here, and we're solving linear equation. This linear equation. By the way, at this point, guys, I know it takes a lot to go through these videos. Persons watching this right now are probably studying. I just want to wish you all the best. Keep going, keep pushing, keep practicing. I am sure you'll get the result you need to get. I'm sure that you'll do well on your exam. So best of luck. Alright, now second, let's continue. So 3a plus 6 is equal to 18. So first things first, whenever we have a linear equation looking like this right here, where we have a number multiplying plus another number that's being added. So we have 6 that's being added right here. So normally we move off whatever is being added or subtracting first. So what we do, we move it to the opposite side of the equation or the equal sign. When we move terms to the opposite side of the equal sign, the sign changes to the opposite but the number remains the same. So if this is a plus 6, the opposite of plus is subtract. So we're gonna have, let me fix this. So I'm gonna change the color. So 3a 3a is equal to 18 minus 6, and we'll write back our 3a, or rewrite our 3a. 18 minus 6, that is just 12. Oh, so that's 12. Alright, remember, whenever we move numbers from one side of the equal sign to the next, the sign will change to the opposite. So that plus 3 will change to negative 6 or minus 6. So and we subtract 18 minus 6, that will be 12, and we're left with 3a. We always move the number that's subtracting or adding first. Alright, so now we have 3a minus 3a is equal to 12. What is the 3 doing to the a? So the 3 is multiplying. The 3 is multiplying the a. That's what 3a means. 3 times a. So if this is 3 times a and we need to move, we need to find out what the value of a is, because we need to know what a is. That means that the next number that we're going to move, and it's always in this particular order, don't move this first. So we're gonna move this number beside the a that's multiplying, and we're gonna carry this over to the other side of the equal sign. When we move numbers from one side of the equal sign to the next, the sign changes to the opposite. So what is the opposite of multiplication? The opposite of multiplication is division. So we're gonna have a is equal to 12 divided by 3, because we move this number to the opposite of the equal sign, so the next side of the equal sign. So remember, whenever we move numbers from one side of the equal sign to the next, the sign changes to the opposite. So multiplication will change to division, but the number must always remain the same. So now we have 12 divided by 3. So a now will be equal to 12 divided by 3 is 4. So a is equal to 4. Alright, moving right along, we have another linear equation. So this one is pretty straightforward. If x minus 10 is equal to 30, what is x? Well, x is pretty straightforward. So 40 minus 10 is equal to 30. You can call it as that, but if you wanted to, you could use the same approach where you have x minus 10 is equal to 30. So the number beside x right here, let me highlight it. It is minus 10. So it is minus 10. So if we wanted to, we could use the same approach as before, where if we move the 10 to the other side of the equal sign, the sign will change to the opposite and the number will remain the same. So the sign changes to the opposite, but number remains the same. So that would be 30. What is the opposite of the subtraction sign? So the opposite of subtract is to plus. So you have 30 plus 10. So 30 plus 10, and that will be equal to x. So x will be equal to 40. So 40 is the answer right there. Alright, so 49. So here we have a straight line completely. Straight line measures up to 180 degrees. So they cut the straight line into two parts. If one part is 50, what's the other part if both parts should equal to 180? Well, all we have to do is just subtract. So let's change the color. So let's subtract 50 from 180. So 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 from 8 would be 3. And you're left with 1. So 130. So x is now equal to 130, because 130 plus 50 will give you the complete 180. So 130 degrees. So C is the answer for number 49. 50. Which of these statements is true? So isosceles triangle has two equal angles. B, an isosceles triangle is always an equilateral triangle. That is incorrect. An equilateral triangle has only two equal sides. That's incorrect. Equilateral has three equal sides. Equal sides. An equilateral triangle always have at least one net. That is incorrect. So the answer is an isosceles triangle has two equal sides, equal angles, and that is correct. So an isosceles triangle does have two equal angles. So that's the correct answer, A. These triangles are drawn to scale. Which two are congruent? So congruent means that they are identical. Congruent mean that they are the same or identical. So same. W's in the shots. Alright, so congruent mean that they are the same. Mean that they are identical. Now out of these shapes, it's pretty obvious which one is identical right here. That would be A and D as well. So A and D, so the answer is B for 51. And we're moving right along. What's this? Perimeter. So 52, we have the perimeter question. So not drawn to scale, calculate the perimeter of the flowers bed. So perimeter just means that you add all the sides together. So 10 centimeters plus 12 centimeters plus 4 centimeters. We have the side missing right here. So all we have to do is subtract the 5 centimeters from 12 centimeters, and that will give you 7 centimeters. So we have 7 centimeters for this angle side right here. and centimeters is just from this side to this side. And what about down here? So the full length from right here to above, going right up here, it is 10 meters. So since we have 4 meters right here, we'll just take it away from 10. So 4 minus 10, would you be left with? 4 minus 10 is what? 6. So you have 6 meters right here. So 6 meters will cover from right here to right here. Alright, so now we have all sides. So 10 plus 12, that's 22, plus 4, that's 20. So 10 plus 12, that's 22, plus 4, that's 26. And we have a 5 as well. So the 5 plus the 26 would give you 31. 31 plus 6 will give you 37, and 37 plus 7 will give you 4. So that's 44. So 44 meters will be the total sides or the perimeter for this flower bed right here. So all we do, add all the sides. If you see that there's a side that's missing, find the missing side. And if you look, you can easily find the missing side. Moving right along. Alright, so we have same question. So we're finding what are we finding right here? So 53, we're finding the area of the shape, not the perimeter. So it's not the same. So first things first, let's separate the shape into two parts because it's a complex shape. So we need to have, you know, we need to have what is separate into two shapes that we can easily find the area of. So if we separate it into two shapes, we can have two rectangles. So this is one rectangle, this is two rectangles. What is the formula for finding the area of rectangles? That's length times width. Length times width. So for the first rectangle, that would be 3 times 7. 3 times 7 is equal to 21. 21. Alright, and then now for the second uh rectangle, length times width, that will be 3 times 5. So that's 3 times 5. 3 times 5 is equal to 15. So 15. So now that we have the area for both rectangles, and if you realize length times width, so length times width, longer side multiplied by shorter side, so 7 times 3, 21, 5 times 2, because the longer side multiplied by the shorter side, so 5 times 3 would give you 15. So after we know, the area for the two shapes, after separating them into two rectangles, we'll just add the areas, the two areas together. So let me highlight it. So we'll just add, hold on, let me just quickly add the two areas together in order to get the complete area of the complex or compound shape, I should say. So let's add them quickly. So let me change the color, blue. So 21 plus 15, and that's equal to 5 plus 1, 6, 1 plus 2, 3. What's the answer? 56 centimeters. Please remember your unit squared for area. So 36 centimeters squared. That's our answer for right there, for finding the area for this shape. Alright, moving right along. So we have 54, and 54 is volume. So this block has the length 10 centimeters, width 5 centimeters, height 5 centimeters as well. So find the volume. Now the volume of this three-dimensional cuboid would be length times width times height. Now if you look in the information right there, or look at the question, we're given everything. So what we'll do is just multiply everything together. 10 times 5 is 50. 50 times 5 would be 5 times 5 is 25. So 250 centimeters cube. So that's our answer right there. Alright, moving on. So question 55. Here are scores on 40 test papers. So students were asked to construct a frequency table using intervals of 5 marks. How many of the scores are in the 71? So let's highlight this. So 71 to 75 group. So that means that what we're trying to find, how many persons scored between 71 to 75. So let's count them. So in the first row right here, we have 74. So that's one. We have 72, 73, sorry. So that's two. Then we have, let's see, we have 75. So that's another one. That's three. And then below right here, we have 75 again. So that's four. Below, fourth row, we have 72. That's six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, that's five. Then we have another 74. So that will be our six. Is there anything else? No. So how many times persons score between 71 to 75? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the answer is 6. All right. So 6 persons. That's the how many scores. That's the frequency. All right. We're going below now. We're at 56. So the bar chart shows the number of kitchens sold last month. It is incomplete. What is missing from the chart? So looking at this chart right here, there's no numbers. I'm not seeing the numbers right here. So I'm not seeing any uh, vertical axis. So the scale for the vertical axis, I'm not seeing it. We have the label number of kitchens sold, but I'm not seeing the numbers. I'm not seeing the scale for the vertical axis. So that would be the answer. So the answer is A. I'm not seeing the scales for the vertical axis. Alright, moving on. Okay. So pictogram shows the number of students learning to play different instruments. Okay, so they're playing the instruments. So whenever you're looking at the pictogram, it's good for you to find the key. So the key is the most important detail right here. So let's highlight the key. So the key, one of this symbol right here, this symbol right here represents what? 10 students. So it represents 10 students. So you need to know, anytime when you see this symbol right here, it means 10 students. Alright? So now, how many more students are learning to play the guitar than persons playing the violin? So the violin, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 5 for the violin. And we know that each symbol represents 10. So that's 5 times 10. So that's 50 students. That violin class is a big class. Alright. And then now compared to the guitar. So how many more persons are learning to play the guitar than the violin? So let's look at the guitar now. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, that is a very big class as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times 10 is 80 students. We have a lot of guitar experts after a while. So we have 80 persons in the guitar class and 50 persons in the violin class. How many more played violin? How many more students are learning to play the guitar over persons playing the violin? That would just be from 50 to 80. That would be 60. You can just subtract. So let me just write it right here. So 80 minus 50. 80 minus 55 from 8, you'll be left with 3. And 0 minus 0 is 0. So the answer for that is 30. Alright. 58. 58. Oh my god.
From
Alright,
the
so 50.
depot during the day. So a distance away from the depot. Right? So the question asks us to find the lorry traveled the farthest between. So 4 options are given right there for times. So from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. What's the distance right here? We're trying to find the furthest distance between all 4 time period right here. So from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, uh, the lorry traveled from, you know, 0 kilometers to 80 kilometers, and to 11 o'clock it meant it was at the same exact distance away from the lorry. So from 9 to 11 o'clock he only traveled 80 kilometers. Sorry, yeah, 80 kilometers. 80 kilometers. As I said before, from 9 to 10 he was already at this already at 80 kilometers. When 11 o'clock came, it was still 80 kilometers away from the depot, so he didn't move any at all. So it was 80 kilometers. Let's look at B. So let's clear this off and let's look at B. So B says 11 a.m. to 1 o'clock. So we start right here, 11 a.m. So he traveled from he is already 80 kilometers away from the depot. So he's already 80 kilometers away from the depot. So he's starting right here. This is the starting point. Alright, so he's out 80 kilometers away. So from 11 to 1 o'clock. So from 11 to 1 o'clock is going to be right here. So let's see what's happening from 11 to 1 o'clock. So from 11 o'clock is 80 kilometers away from depot. To 12 o'clock he is 160 kilometers away. And that's 12 o'clock, and from 1 o'clock is at the same exact distance. So that's the same 160 kilometers. How far did he travel? Well, all you have to do minus, so the 160 kilometers from the starting point, he was already 80 kilometers away from the depot. So in order to get from 160 kilometers, you just subtract right there. 80 from 160 is 2816, so it's 80 kilometers. So he traveled 80 kilometers between those times. So 80 kilometers. So you have to read the question carefully to see what is it exactly that they're asking you for. And you have to look at the chart properly as well. Alright, so C is from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So 1 o'clock is already 160 kilometers away. And we're looking at 1 o'clock to 3. So 3 is right here. So from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock is at the same distance, 160 kilometers. So the truck didn't move at all, right? Didn't move any at all. So it's still at 160. But when it was 3 o'clock, 1 to 2 didn't move. So from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, when you reach 3 o'clock is 120 kilometers away. So it definitely moved right there. So 120. So if we want to know how far he moves or how far he travels from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, he was at 160 kilometers away from the depot. He was 160 kilometers away from the depot, and at 3 o'clock he is 120 kilometers away from the depot. So he's coming back. So how far did he travel from? So 160 minus 120. So 0, 2 from 6, 4. So 40 kilometers away. So number C is 40 kilometers away. Whenever you're looking at these charts, be careful so that you see exactly what you're doing. Alright, now from 3 o'clock, let me just quickly erase this. Alright, so from 3 to 5, 3 to 5 now. He is 120 kilometers away. So 120 kilometers away. That's the starting, that's where the vehicle is at. How far did he travel? And he's coming back now. So 1 kilometers away. And he's traveling all the way back to 5. So this is the end point. This is the end point. So he's traveling back. He is 120 kilometers away. 4 o'clock he is 80. Yes, 80 kilometers away. And at 5 o'clock he's already back. So when we look at the time there from 0 to 80, that's 80 kilometers. That's 80 kilometers traveling from 4 to 5. That's 80. And when we take this into consideration, right, here's the first thing that we're gonna do. Let's subtract. So 120 minus 80. So what we're trying to do, we're gonna find the time when he traveled from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So 8 from 12, that's what, 4. So we're gonna add this now to from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, that's 80. So 4, so the 40 kilometers now plus 80. 4 plus 8, that's 20. So that's 120 kilometers. So he traveled 120 kilometers from the time 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. 120. So that would be the furthest that he traveled between those times. So the lorry traveled the furthest between the times of 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Now, moving on from that. So the data table shows the sales for each department in the store. So the sales for food, clothing, electrical, and other, and they're in percentages. Which pie chart shows the data table? So the largest should be food. So food is a little bit more than a half. 60% is a little bit more than a half. And we have electrical and other that should have the same proportion. So electrical and other. So looking at letter A, we can see that this will be the closest to the answer. Let's look at the other. Let's look at the others. So food right here would be 50%. That's not 60, so it wouldn't work. Electrical and other, they have different proportions right here, so it wouldn't work. C definitely could not work because clothing, electrical, and other has the same proportions. So A is the answer right there. So you can look at it. Electrical and other 10%, so they should look the same. Clothing should be around the same, twice the size of one of these, so we're seeing that. And food is 60%, that should be a little bit more than half of the circle, so we're seeing that for food. So A is the answer for that. All right, moving on. So 60, and last, so the sales representative usually travels from A to E via C. The road from A to C is short for roadworks. How many kilometers is the shortest route from A to E now? So let's look at A to E. A to E. So A to E. Alright. So the road from A to C is out of work. So let's erase that. Just highlight that with the red. No, let's just put. So change the color right there. I'm gonna show the road that's shut off. So A to C is closed. That's based on the question. So A to C is closed. So what now is the shortest road to get from A? Let's change the color. So I want to get from A to E. So it will be the shortest distance if C is shut off. So that would be now, let's highlight. So if A to C is shut off, then we can use A to B. And then instead of going all the way to A to D, and then from D to E, it will be easier to go from B to C because it's 2 kilometers. And then we'll have from C to E. So that's the shortest distance right there.
Let's see if it's there. So all we have to do is add everything together. So all we have to do is to add everything together. So 3 kilometers plus 2 kilometers, that's 5. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 4 kilometers is 9. So the answer is 9. So the answer is 9 kilometers. Alright, and we're finished. So this road is blocked, so this will be the shortest distance. Persons wondering why I didn't use the other alternative or the other road, it will give us a higher number or a larger number. Alright, so that is it.